Welcome everybody to this wonderful community call for this week. It is the 14th of July. Community calls are now bi-weekly. The last one was 2 weeks ago. There's quite a bit to discuss. After my usual quick news roundup, I'm going to speak to two lovely gentlemen who I have here with me today from a friend project whose community is kind of cross-pollinated with ours. I have with me today Cheng and Vlad from Alephium. Say hi, guys. How's it going?
Hi, Sudo. How are you? Nice to meet you here.
Hello.
It's lovely to have you both. There was a lot of back channeling and plotting and scheming on the part of our core community to make this call happen. Some people in the audience of this call were not leaving me alone until I brought you on. So it's really lovely to have you on finally.
Oh, we're very happy to be here, and we're very lucky to have such friends. And I think you guys also lucky to have such friends. It's awesome.
Very much so. We do feel lucky. All right. Well, but before we get into our little chat about your amazing project, I'll go through the news that happened over the past 2 weeks around Nym. So starting with a big PSA, another Nix chain upgrade is incoming. It is going to be next Tuesday, foreseeably at about 11:30 a.m. UTC. There's a plus or minus there, so we're going to be keeping you guys posted on the exact time because block times are not exactly consistent. So it may be 1 or 2 hours before or after. Hopefully this upgrade, fingers crossed, I'm not trying to jinx it, but hopefully this upgrade will go just as smoothly as the previous one, which was fairly recently, and we barely even noticed that it ever happened. So let's hope it's going to go as smoothly as that one, but in case something goes wrong, the upgrade may take up to an epoch, which is an hour when it comes to the NymConnect, and during that 1 hour-ish period, you will not be able to transfer tokens, you will not be able to delegate, undelegate. The wallet may be broken, the interface of the wallet, so keep that in mind. We're obviously going to keep you posted on our Telegram and Discord channels about how the update is going, when it's coming, and of course when it's completed, and also what exactly is new under it. Another very happy piece of news is that Nym got listed on Bybit. Huge thanks for everybody who voted for us. It's been quite the ride. So we ended up collecting almost 40 million votes in total. So that's absolutely huge. Once again, huge thanks for the community who made this possible. Bybit is one of the largest exchanges in the world. And we are on a quest to make the Nym token as available as possible to as many people as possible. So this ties very nicely into that. Now, on that note, as you guys know, we had a huge airdrop campaign for this Bybit listing. And before the 25th of July, we're going to be announcing all the winners. We got thousands upon thousands of submissions, so we're going through all of those now, and it will take some time. So please keep an eye. If you did vote for us, and if you did submit for the airdrop campaign, then make sure to keep an eye on our channels because and also your inbox. We're going to be sending out emails to the winners and announcing once we selected everybody. Moving on to the next one. This past 2 weeks has been quite intense in terms of blog posts. I have to say that some of my personal all-time favorite Nym blog posts have been released. And I'm going to start with my actual favorite one, which is called You Spoke, We Listened. In the chat, you can find a link to everything that I'm talking about, including this blog post. So this blog post is really great. I recommend everybody reading it because, we've been talking a lot about kind of vague terms, a lot of changes that are happening at Nym, both at DevRel AMAs and also on these community calls. And you heard me speak about some changes on our channels as well. And now you see in some concrete terms all of those changes that are taking place. So the blog post is basically about key milestones and future plans, short summary. So there really is a lot going on in the background right now at Nym. This blog post is a great peek into that. So 3 things are driving these changes, 3 important things. One is your invaluable feedback. As many of you know, and many of you participated, we put out a series of surveys a few months back where I think we received in total about 500 submissions from our community. And a lot of that feedback was used to shape the new directions that Nym is taking. So that's one thing. The other thing is the fact that the Nym team grew very significantly over the past 2 years. So we're counting significantly more people than we used to. We needed to restructure accordingly. And most importantly, now that the mixnet is done, we are ready for mass adoption. So the name of the game going forward is mass adoption, and we're preparing for that. So that is driving these changes. So just a few tidbits from the blog post. There's some major reorganization happening within the Nym team. So we are restructuring the team into 2 cross-functional teams, the Nym SDK team and the Nym VPN team. Also, you can read in the blog post more about community empowerment, which is obviously, for me as head of community, is a very important thing. Community grants are coming. Shipyard Academy 2 is coming, which I'm probably the most excited about for the rest of the year, and a lot of regular community activities as well. As many of you probably saw, we extended the existing Ninja program with the Ninja Cadet program, which is really nice to see. We have a whole bunch of very active people now in the Ninja Cadet Telegram group, scheming for all kinds of NIM-related things, which is lovely to see. So expect more info on that as well. And in the blog post, you can also read the fact that yours truly, which is me, is delivering weekly community reports on the NIM core team meetings. So we're trying to become community first, which is going to be a very important transformation in the life of NIM. So there's a lot more in the blog post as well. I'm not going to go into everything because you can read it yourself, but we're also talking a bit about what happens in terms of marketing and token availability over the coming half a year or so for the rest of 2023. And then another great blog post dropped, moving on to the next one, which is a breakdown of the smart contracts that run the NIM token economics. You can find a link to the blog post in the stage chat. It is a super interesting blog post that taught me, even though I've been working here for quite some time, even I learned some stuff from this blog post. By and large, what's interesting to note is that the entirety of the NIM mixnet is functioning as a result of two pretty complex smart contracts, especially the Nym mixnet smart contract. So that's the first one, which mediates everything from rewards, the mixnet's topology, reputation, and payments. All of that stuff is done by the mixnet smart contract. And we also have, of course, a vesting contract, which basically releases NIM tokens according to the different vesting schedules of backers, Steam, and all of that stuff. So you can find all kinds of lovely details about these two smart contracts, which do the heavy lifting when it comes to the NIM mixnet. And also the updated vesting schedule in the blog post is there because we got a lot of requests from the community to have that in one place. So you can also find it there. And then my third favorite blog post was about the NIM tokens and where they live and how are they distributed cross-chain. One of the important things that are explained in this blog post is how Gravity Bridge works, which I think is a marvel of technology. We got quite a few questions over the years of why the Gravity Bridge wallet address appears to hold like an obscene number of NIM tokens on the ERC20 side. That is also explained in this blog post. So if you're interested in the technical nitty-gritty, then make sure to give it a read. In other news, we had a wonderful AMA on Reddit with Alexi, our COO Alexi, and Harry Halpin, our CEO. It's really worth giving it a read because some truly amazing questions were asked. And we had a giveaway for the best questions, and the winners were announced. So there's going to be a link to a post on our Telegram channel for the list of winners. Please expect DM from one of our dear CMs for instructions on how to claim your rewards. And another great thing that happened recently was the tutorial contest. So recently we ran a tutorial contest where the community put together all kinds of tutorials about various things when it comes to using NIM and just our technology. So the winners of that were also announced. Another post will be linked in the chat. Please check it out. You may be one of them. And then moving on, yesterday I had the pleasure to host John Wu from Aztec on a Twitter space, along with Diane, our social media manager. As many of you may know, we recently announced a partnership with Aztec, where their new hybrid ZK rollup, which supports both public and private smart contract execution, is getting some network level privacy sprinkled in via the NIM mixnet. It was a really great conversation, so I recommend everybody listening to it. We talked about everything from the partnership, of course, and the Universal Privacy Alliance, which both NIM and Aztec are members of, and also some random things like the recently emerging joke of Arkham and much more. So give it a listen if you're interested. And then closing out the news roundup, we also have a few community written blog posts about actual tutorials, how to use Alephium's wallet, which you're hopefully going to see during this community call today, as part of a demo, how to use it via the NIM mixnet for network level privacy using NymConnect, our one-button interface. And there's also another tutorial to buy ALF tokens through the NIM mixnet. Both of those were shared in the chat, which brings me to my beautiful guests today. So welcome Cheng and Vlad to the call. How is it going, folks?
Hey, really well. Also, it's soon the weekend. I realized that I forgot to thank Alexi for coming to the Tech Talk last month, on not on our Discord, but on YouTube, and it was awesome. He's an amazing speaker. I hope we'll make it justice today.
Let's hope so. I actually watched that chat with you, and it was super interesting. Maybe Salazar, could you please dig up a link to the talk of Alexi with Vlad on the Alephium YouTube channel, please? Drop it in the chat for people to see. All right. Well, do you guys care to introduce yourselves?
Cheng, would you go first?
You go first. It's good.
Hi, I'm Vladimir. So I'm in charge of community marketing at Alephium. I've been involved in crypto for soon 10 years now, from the origins of the Bitcoin meetups in Geneva. That's where I met Alexei back in the day, and we were like remaking the system like around the beer. And now we're actually working on this, and he's been working on this pretty successfully. And I'm very inspired by what I see, and I've been involved in multiple things. From by trade, I'm in marketing and advertising, but I've done a lot of other things. And now I work at Alephium, where I love to pursue the mission of doing things right, both in the tech way and also in the aims and goals.
Hi everyone, I'm Cheng. I'm the founder of Alephium. I'm very much a technical person. My background was about math and distributed systems. I had two PhD experience, one in elliptic curve and another one on consensus algorithm. And in 2015, I proposed the first linear time Byzantine consensus algorithm. And in 2018, I started to work full-time for the project Alephium, which tries to scale the blockchain with a brand new sharding algorithm. And we also proposed a new virtual machine and new programming language that try to solve many of the security issues we see right now in the EVM ecosystem. We're going to talk more about those technical details, but I really thank Nym for having us in this community call, and looking forward to discuss more.
It is really a pleasure to have you guys on. Before talking about Alephium, or maybe we are going to talk about Alephium as an answer to this question as well. I guess this one is for you, Cheng. When we initially spoke, when I first met you guys, when you introduced me to Alephium, there was a lot of talk about Bitcoin. So to me, it looks like the technology and philosophy of Bitcoin had a large influence on you guys. So can you talk a bit about that connection to Bitcoin? In what ways is Alephium similar to Bitcoin?
Yeah, so we got a lot of influence by Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency, and it managed to be very successful as the first one, and this is very rare in the technical space. And usually, a lot of protocols needs a lot of. Usually, the first ones they fail, but Bitcoin is a very exceptional one. And I'm a very technical guy, so I want to try to kind of to share my perspective from a very technical standing point. In my opinion, Bitcoin has a few technical advantages. First thing is it started with the UTXO model, which is kind of very surprising because it's a bit different from the conventional programming model that's the Web 2 developers can imagine, because UTXO model is something very new and it requires a bit of understanding to use it. After so many years, I'm personally very convinced that actually it's probably one of the best or even the best accounting model for crypto assets, because it's itself is a good standard. Like it's not like in the account model on EVM, you have to propose a lot of standards for tokens for NFTs. With the UTXO model, you automatically have the built-in support for assets. This is great, and also it's very secure, because with the UTXO, users have the true ownership of all of the crypto assets. You don't need to propose standards for the approvals like EVM, and which is very, very insecure and has caused a lot of hikes and losses for normal users. Yeah, so that's the first thing I really like about Bitcoin is the UTXO model. It's until today, it's still kind of fascinating for me that the Satoshi proposed UTXO model when he designed the first cryptocurrency. The second part is the proof of work part, which is also something very, very unique for cryptocurrency. Like before, there are some kind of ideas about using similar ideas to proof work for other stuff, but using proof of work for consensus is actually very also mind-blowing. If you have know a bit about history about consensus algorithms, actually in research in academia, actually a lot of research focus on PBFT, Byzantine consensus, etc. And yeah, when I was in my PhD, I also do that. And proof of work is a very completely different set of consensus algorithms. and somehow Satoshi choose it for the first cryptocurrency. And until today, I still believe that is one of the most decentralized approach for cryptocurrency, and also not only for decentralization, also from technical point of view, is very easy to implement, and also is very very kind of easier to analysis than a lot of the other more complicated staking protocols. That's the second part I really like about it. And lastly, I want to mention that is the whole Bitcoin design philosophy is trying to make the full node as kind of lightweight as possible, so the whole network can scale really to a massive peer-to-peer network, and a lot of people can just run the full node on, for example, Raspberry Pi hardware, and then they can follow the don't trust but verify philosophy to validate all of the transactions in the network to secure the network. And this, I think, is really a very important point for cryptocurrency in general. And we kind of follow in the similar paths like Bitcoin, and a lot of our design in the protocol and also in the implementation following exactly the same philosophy as Bitcoin. Try to make everything as lightweight and efficient as possible, and also make the whole protocol can scale in a sustainable way for the very long term, and the people still can follow can validate, can run the full nodes if they want. So yeah, basically we try to scale Alephium following the similar tech stack proof of work and UTXO, and we try to scale them by not sacrificing the core value of Bitcoin.
Sounds like you really like Bitcoin, which is nothing new to me. So I have to tell you that probably Alexei, if it wasn't for Nym, he would be a Bitcoin maxi. Tell me if it's not true, Alexei, but I'm pretty sure that it's true. And so we also really like Bitcoin on the team, which brings me to your project. So maybe Vlad, can you give me the elevator pitch in light of that of Alephium?
Yes, sure. I'll give you the very quick version of this. Is like basically we like the values of decentralization. We think we need to have it scalable so that devs can build big stuff on it. And it should be secure for users, so it should not be like the EVM stuff. It should stay decentralized for everyone. So it means the nodes needs to be lightweight and the network be peer-to-peer. And much probably we love proof of work. So at the end of the day, we're sharded blockchain, which allows for a lot of transactions per second. Like as of today, 400 per second, and we could easily scale to 10,000. We have a VM and a language that allow us to have expressive stateful UTXO, meaning you can actually build smart contracts. And we have features that make it easier to make secure smart contracts, but we'll probably talk about this a bit more later. We also have proof of less work, which is a twist on proof of work that allows it to basically keep the decentralized competition while at the same time being quite a bit more energy efficient overall. So we're a layer one that scales, that devs can build secure dApps on, and that users can use in a sovereign way, basically.
A follow-up question. What's sharding, or what's a sharded blockchain?
This basic problem that both Bitcoin and Ethereum have run in is that if you want to keep your structure decentralized, you end up having a problem of throughput. It's very hard to have a high throughput in a decentralized system. So sharding is one solution, which means parallelizing basically the blockchain. But then you have the problem of synchronization and of being sure that you can prevent double spend. Ethereum has tried to shard for the past almost 7 years. They've gone through several phases of looking at different solutions. It will come for sure at some point. But like Alephium has a very significant advantage, as we have sharding live today with single-step parse shards managed by our sharding algorithm called Blockflow, which basically allows to have different blockchains running at the same time, all synchronized with each other. But I can leave Cheng give a bit more technical details on this.
I think Vlad, you gave a great introduction. Yeah, so basically, sharding is a way to run multiple blockchains in parallel, but that's only the high-level description. Under the hood, the main challenge is like you're gonna it's very challenging to reach consensus for multiple blockchains than a single blockchain, because you just need to have a consensus algorithm for the single blockchain. But when you have multiple blockchains, you're going to have to synchronize them. And then in that case, there are different mechanisms to do that, and usually there are some cost. For example, in the proof of staking approach, the cost usually is like you have to have a main chain, and that main chain is actually something like a coordinates of the different sub blockchains. The main chain is going to manage all of the validators and try to distribute all the validators to the sub blockchains, and also need to try to distribute it in a more very random way so that each of the sub blockchain is not will not have security issues. Like this is often called the one-person security attack. So in our case, but this approach has some issues because the main chain actually is going to be the main bottleneck, and also it kind of the network looks like more like L1, L2 architectures. It's not really the user experience is not really seamless. For example, if you want to make a transaction from one shard to another shard, you're going to usually takes multiple steps, and that is not user friendly. So we propose something new based on proof of work. Actually, proof of work has the advantage that you don't need to manage validators. All the miners, they kind of manage the whole network by themselves, and they don't need to put the information on the blockchain. So that's great. It means we can eliminate the needs of validators from the whole blockchain, and all of the shards are actually kind of homogeneous to each other. And also we have some mechanisms to make the cross-shard transaction very efficient just in one step. So that's it. And we can scale the existing blockchain without sacrificing the user experience.
Thanks for that. I learned something today. I do have another question for you, Cheng, though. You guys have your own programming language, right? Which is, I hear from people, it's kind of a risky move, right? Because people often don't want to learn yet another programming language. But you did this for a good reason. So how difficult is your language to learn, and what are the benefits of
Yeah, that's actually true. Like it has trade-off. Like there's a trade-offs for introducing a new language. I believe that is kind of necessary because blockchain and the cryptocurrency is a very specific field. You can actually reuse existing language, but the dev experience is not really always that great because you have to hack the existing language to introduce a lot of blockchain native stuff to the stack. And that can introduce not only dev experience issues, also security issues. So I personally prefer another approach is to just try to craft a new language that is kind of very specific for the blockchain. And I think this is a popular approach not only in blockchain, in other fields, like people invent domain-specific languages very often as well. So Alephium, I believe that the dev experience is great. So far, we have received some feedbacks from the community devs, and all of them feel excited and feel kind of very impressed by how easy it is to build with our new language, RAF. And we actually designed, we have a few design goals in the early days when we design a new language. Try to make it to be very friendly. The first thing is we try to make the language as simple as possible compared to the other generic languages. Like they usually have a lot of very involved features like concurrency, like memory and file system, etc. And all of those are not actually necessary for the smart contract language. So we try to keep the core of the language really, really very simple. Like nowadays, if you see the language is more like just a write code with simple functions. And the second goal is we try to make language as secure as possible. We introduce a lot of new security elements into the virtual machine, into the compiler, and into the language. But on the same time, we try to make these kind of security features as seamless as possible. It means for developers, they don't really need to learn them at the first place. They can just try the language, and then when they follow some bad practices, the compiler remind the developers. With this kind of design, we make the onboarding experience very friendly, and also we build we build some examples. We plan to build a lot more examples to help new developers to get familiar with the language, with the stack. We also have a very friendly TypeScript SDK that actually can allow developers to interact with the deploy smart contract on the blockchain. And we also try to make this kind of SDK very, very easy to use. Usually you just need to use one line of code to be able to interact with the blockchain. So overall, we have designed the language and also the whole SDK stack to be as friendly as possible. And we are open for new feedback, new suggestions from the community, and try to keep improving it. And so far, the feedback is really great. And the main benefit is, I think, not only the dev experience, also the security. Security comes from the compiler, the virtual machine, and also the language. So yeah, a lot of things we have done to make people love the language and easy to build on it. So yeah, that's a bit long. I need to cut.
Well, keeping it simple on that note, I'm no coder, but even I understand how important that is. So the other day I was speaking to a blockchain developer who also was just learning a language of another project. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to take digs at other projects. We don't roll like that. And he said it was because it was so complicated. It was like eating glass.
Yeah. That's I think that is kind of a common issue in the field right now, because blockchain is a very new. Even after 10 years, I still believe it's a very new field, and the developer, there are not too many developers right now in the space. And usually for a lot of projects, kind of the core developers, they focus on the front nodes, and then they have another team, for example, like a front end team to work on the SDK, etc. And usually they bring some gaps between the core devs and the front end devs, and that can cause some issues in the dev experience part. And we try to close that gap by actually having the same set of people working on the two parts. So if you are just the core devs, you also need to work on the front end, so that we make sure that what you build, you are going to love what you build. Otherwise, if you don't use it, you are not going to know the kind of the dev experience issues. So that's our approach, and it works out really well.
That's actually really smart. I love that. Moving on to another thing I would love to hear more about, is proof of less work. So even just how that sounds is very interesting in a world where Bitcoin is attacked a lot because of proof of work and its energy requirements, right? So maybe Vlad, could you expand on what proof of less work is and how does it work and what problem does it aim to solve?
Yeah, when you say eating glass, but programming languages, I was thinking about, like in French, eating glass is ice cream, and that's what we want for our devs, right? That they have the impression to eat an ice cream when they develop with us.
I love that.
And actually, proof of less work is I like proof of less work because I come from the Bitcoin world too. I believe that even though it seems wasteful, it's not necessarily so, as it performs a service that is essential to decentralization. And for now, a lot of the experimentations with proof of stake is not yet as old, and track record is not as conclusive as the ability to keep decentralization in proof of work systems. But we do realize that it is indeed consuming a huge amount of energy taken together. And the question was, can we keep the decentralization advantages of proof of work while at the same time trying to soften the, let's say, the global environmental impact? The solution is actually quite elegant, and I mean, I like it intellectually, and it I think you can too. The question is, like, when you mine and the hash rate goes up, you have to keep spending external energy, so external costs. So you have the cost of equipment, you have the cost of energy, and it increases, and the rewards either stays the same or varies. In our case, rewards is not like in Bitcoin, based on like halvings every 4 years, but it's a function of time and the global hash rate. So you're a miner, you spend more energy to mine less rewards, but at some point, when the global hash rate states that there's enough security, or that there's a good level of security for the network, instead of asking you to expend more external energy, instead of asking you to burn more energy, we ask you burn coins on top of the energy. So your cost as a miner keeps increasing. It's just the mix of the cost is different. It's not only energy and equipment, it's energy, equipment, and coins. And that allows like to have the competition for the mining keeps going up. It gets harder as time goes by. It gets more expensive. So we keep the good mechanics, but at the same time, you have like the network consumes less energy overall for the same kind of security provided to the network. Was that fairly clear?
Fairly. But can you repeat the part where you talked about when this will kick in when it comes to Alephium? Because I think that there was a truck or something in the background.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Proof of less work will activate once the global hash rate reaches 1 exahash, and will progressively increase the cost of burn until we reach 128 exahash.
And then in practice, what kind of like energy savings are you expecting from this? Do you have any like rough numbers or estimations on this in advance?
Yeah, if we were to do like NAP, back of the NAP calculations, like for the equivalent level of security between a straight proof of work and proof of less work at a high level, would be almost 10 times less energy expended.
And you still have the benefits of proof of work. That's
Yes.
quite amazing.
Yes.
All right. Well, looking forward to your network reaching 1 exahash.
We're going there.
Where are you today, by the way?
60 terahash for now, something like this.
That's decent.
Yeah.
That's a lot of compute.
Oh yeah. We're still GPU stage. FPGA is not so far, and eventually ASICs. That's gonna take us order of magnitudes every time.
Yeah, ASICs are really good at putting out that hash rate. Moving on to a different question, which I think is also pretty interesting. So I think this one is for you, Cheng, probably. So you guys have your own VM, which is called Alphred. And you mentioned both during our initial conversation and during this one, security being baked in. And also it's like a key point, like key selling point of Alephium overall, improvements in security over other VMs and DIA platforms. So how do you bake in security into a VM?
We designed a brand new virtual machine for two reasons. The first reason is our accounting model is based on UTXO, so it's completely different from the accounts model. So we have to have a new virtual machine for that accounting model. And the second reason is that the security, as I have shared before. So in our new virtual machine, the whole virtual machine, the whole execution is based on UTXO model. It means we have native support for the crypto assets or tokens like NFTs. You don't need to have a additional assets standard for this. You just leverage the UTXO for that. This brings a lot of security and also actually a lot of optimization opportunities as well, because you have the native support for that, and the virtual machine can basically leverage this information for some optimizations ahead. So specifically for security, because UTXO is truly owned by users, and also UTXO can be used for token approval, and the token transfer is kind of built in. It's not a function of a standard. And this can bring additional security, because for all of the transfer, all of the function call, virtual machine can actually verify whether this kind of transfer or approval is intended for the function. So it means we have some permission system built in the virtual machine. So that's the second benefit. We leverage the UTXO model for token approval system. Nowadays, if you follow a little bit of the EVM ecosystem, actually you can see a lot of hackers that's related to token approval. And often you see if there is a hack happens, always the protocol, the first thing they do is ask people to revoke all of the permissions from the smart contract. And in our case, you don't need to do this, because we have built-in support on the virtual machine level, and then we also have the very friendly syntax in the language level to support this. The third very important security element is we follow the input and output model for smart contract execution. By input and output model, I mean is when you start the transaction, you put a set of assets on the table, and all of the actions, they are going to use some of the inputs. But once they spend some of the coins, the output, the new ownership of those assets will generate some outputs for the transaction, and they cannot be reused. And in this way, it means there will be no re-entrancy in our virtual machine for the assets. And this solves a lot of the security issues that's caused by re-entrancy attack. And in our case, it's basically you don't really need to care about it. It's always secure. This can make the whole developer experience much more friendly because you don't need to worry about that very tricky re-entrancy attack. And lastly, we have a lot of good practices built in. For example, all of the mathematical operations are safe by default. So it means developers, they don't need to use some additional libraries like a safe math, like in Solidity. By default, you get all of those securities from the virtual machine. So basically, that's a set of designs we apply for the virtual machine, and then we build the language to work with the virtual machine and to make it easy to get started.
That's great, and especially great because my understanding is that this helps the little guy the most. So obviously, if you don't have this kind of security baked in, then it takes way more resources to keep your eyes open, and also way more knowledge. If you're average Joe developing a D app, you're kind of lost, with the requirements of other VMs when it comes to security.
It's very easy to write Solidity, but it's very, very hard to write a secure Solidity. You have to spend a lot of time in auditing. So that's definitely a problem to massive adoption. Right now, the total amount of developers in the space is still quite small. I think last week I read a report. Right now, the number of active developers is like 6,000 right now in the space. If you want to onboard more developers, Solidity definitely is going to not be the answer to it. We're going to need something more. A bit like JavaScript is not enough. We need TypeScript, we need Rust for some more critical stuff, right?
All right. Well, on the note of mass adoption, Vlad, this one is for you. So you guys have your own wallet, which hopefully I'm going to be showing in a few minutes. And you guys mentioned the quote unquote maniacal focus on UX and design that you guys have, that you're very fixated on these things. So why is UX very important?
First, we have 3 wallets, actually. One is our main wallet for now is the desktop wallet, which you're going to be showing. We have a mobile wallet that is coming very soon, almost ready. And we also have a browser extension. So you already have like 3 ways of managing currency transactions, so NFTs and stuff on Alephium. As you can see, we have a pretty fundamental approach to things in terms of technicals on the one hand. On the other hand, our project wants to be used. Like we want to serve real users, real devs, right? And for that, we can talk about sharding all day long. Most of people don't connect with that, right? It's very hard to understand proof of place work, to get into the weeds of why the UTXO model is better than the account model. That's let's say dev speak or tech speak. If it's your fancy as it's mine and probably a little bit of yours, then it's good. But like normal people, they use a wallet, and that's their first interaction with your chain and with any services that is built on your chain, right? And we have a very ambitious front-end team that really likes its products that it develops to be used, and it likes that normal people can use them. And when I say maniacal focus is that by trade, I said I was from marketing and advertising, but in reality, I started my career as a graphist. So I know when the work it takes to actually, okay, where do I put this information? What size does it has? What happens when someone clicks on this button? And I see them iterate and iterate to get to a better space. And I see them answer to people who tell them their edge cases and how they integrate that focus. And I like working with people like this. I can only tell you that it's impressive because we have a direct line with people. The community gives us feedback, and then it's integrated. The NymConnect that you're going to show, it comes from the connection with the Not from Stayfire guys. Actually, I want to thank them. CGI and Heka, they're probably on the call. They're also community members. They say, okay, we're interested in that. We talk about this, and then we decide to integrate it. And even if it's not like we have tons of things to do, like we're working on a bridge, we're working on many things. We're like, okay, let's integrate this, right? We need we think the next billion people in crypto needs to be onboarded. And they're not going to be onboarded by only talking about UTXOs. They're going to be onboarded by having ease of use and a pleasure of interaction. And that's why the wallet is easy to use. It's nice to look at. It's evolving fast. And we're going to keep doing this.
Yes, I totally agree. I think in general, crypto has a huge UX/enjoyment of use problem. So it's definitely, as you heard during my news roundup, Nym is also eyeing with mass adoption, right? That's the word that we use, and for that we're also doing a ton of UX work, because if everything is very complicated, if you can only do things from the command line, for example, then good job targeting 0.3% of the population, but there's no mass there. So we totally agree on this one.
It doesn't mean we haven't some like advanced features that are also common line, like, you know, multi-sig that are implementable at the node level and stuff like this. But like in general, the front end stuff, it has to be easy and pleasant. That's the goal.
Very true, because it's also so as a power user, if you're in that 0.3% of the population, there's nothing more frustrating than some platform or tool or app that doesn't give you the role that you want. But for the other 99.7%, you're obliged to make things as simple as possible. So this is the delicate dance that when designing stuff for the masses, right?
Yeah, and very often people don't realize it takes a lot of work and it's very hard to do simple. The same way that it's very hard to write a short article. Shorter is more complicated, and easier to use is more complicated. You know, like it takes. So that's why I was talking about maniacal focus, because it takes a maniac to actually spend that amount of time to make things simple for people to use.
Yeah, I'll share a secret with you, Vlad. Fortunately, no one else is listening, so it's good.
Perfect. Tell me.
I decided at least 700 different times that I'm going to be more active on Twitter. But the very reason that I can't actually ever do it is because it's so hard to write things in a nice way that is also short, that to me, it's actually impossible. So I definitely understand what you're talking about there.
There's this very famous letter from the Cardinal de Richelieu who said to someone at the end of a 16 pages letter, like, I'm really sorry, I didn't have time to make it short.
Yeah, makes sense. Moving on to my last question before the demo, which I'm super nervous about, by the way. It is about privacy, but we also got a community question from Emil Pepil, really cool name, by the way, about privacy. So let me answer that real quick, and then I will ask my question to you, Cheng. So Emil Pepil asks, can I ask you a question? How competitive do you think the privacy niche in Web3 is? Do you feel the competition? Well, actually, I would say, to be completely real, obviously different products and projects and people who are trying to develop privacy preserving solutions, to some extent they are competitors, right? But that's, I think, about 3% of it. So I did mention, and you can find in the chat a link to my conversation with John Wu from Aztec, who's also a privacy project. Technically, they are our competitor, right? They are also a Web3 project working on privacy preserving tech. Yet we are partnering the Nym Mix that is bringing network level privacy to their solution, which is private smart contract execution. So these things tie into each other and help each other in a very nice way. This is the reason why Nym was one of the founding members of UPA, which is the Universal Privacy Alliance, which I'm not sure how many projects are in it at this point, but I think about 10 or so privacy-focused Web3 projects. And we are working closely together on advocacy and also finding our common narrative and a whole bunch of other things as well. So on paper, you could see us as competitors, right? But in actual fact, the privacy tech stack is really tall. And I would say that all of these different projects are taking different little bits and pieces of that privacy tech stack. But at the end of the day, people will need the entire stack if they want to preserve their privacy. So yeah, it's a yes and no, but in my personal opinion, it's mostly a no. And I would like to focus on the no because that's where beautiful things happen, such as our partnership with Aztec. And on that note, on the note of privacy, of course, our community likes to hear about privacy because we're very much a privacy-focused project. That's our vision and mission. So I want to ask you, Cheng, what's your take on privacy? So what is the philosophy of Alephium when it comes to privacy?
Alephium is not designed to have those privacy primitives like built in. So we pretty much follow in the Bitcoin approach. We have the tech stack, and then privacy could be add it on top or build as another layer on top of it. In general, first, I'm not really kind of expert on privacy on blockchain, so I try to share my personal opinion on this. In my opinion, like there are two type of privacies for blockchain stuff. The first thing is the network privacy, which means the operation of the nodes and the operation of the relevant infrastructures, for example, the block explorer, the wallets. And for this privacy, I personally think a mixed node like what Nym is doing is very critical for the whole space. And I personally also believe that it's better to have a standalone project like Nym to focus on that, and then the other projects to compose the privacy features on projects like Nym, because it's a very specialized field, and usually like a team, different team have different strengths. For us, like our strength is in scalability, in virtual machine, and in smart contract security. So it will be much more efficient and practical for us just to compose with Nym to leverage these privacy features for the network privacy stuff. And then there's another part is the on-chain privacy. And this is usually about the privacy of making transactions or doing DRP interactions. So here there are actually quite a lot of researches in the field already. And because our model is called is a stateful UTXO model, we can reuse the existing privacy like designs by Bitcoin, for example, the coin join approach. That could give quite good privacy for making simple transactions. And then because stateful UTXO model actually combines the UTXO model with account model, we can also have the similar like other privacy designs like the liquidity pool based privacy with cryptography proofs. And that approach can also be built for Alephium. So we can basically combine all of the existing nice designs from both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And lastly, Alephium also supports the Shino signature from Bitcoin. So it means people can aggregate the signatures off chain and then post the aggregated signature on the chain. And this can also bring additional privacy to the system. But I believe that the whole Nym community and the developers from the Nym team knows much better on this topic. And if you guys have new ideas, please don't hesitate to let us know in the chat, for example.
Of course, and you did say you leave the network level privacy to Nym, so amen to that. And I guess that ties very nicely into the demo that I'm going to be showing you guys. Are we ready for that?
Yay!
Yay! All right, so hopefully everything will go just fine. Wait, where do I share my whole screen? Yeah. Yeah, I'm the best demo person. Nick already knows. If you want a tech demo, hit me up. My fees are kind of fair, and I do great tech demos. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So this was actually a solution kind of developed and supported by Nutrus Verify, which is a core member of the Nym, or like a core group of the Nym community, and also a core group of the Alephium community. So those are the guys when I mentioned plotting and scheming and backchanneling for this call to happen. Those were the guys I was talking about. So this is NymConnect. For those of you who don't know it, this is like a one-click interface to privacy protect specific applications via the Nym Mixnet. This is kind of an experimental tool, but it's growing nicely into something like a bit of a Swiss Army knife. Right now I'm connected, so I'm just going to disconnect. And the first thing that you need to do is to select, of course, this is the Alephium wallet, which you need to install. That's a prerequisite. I believe the latest release already comes with baked-in support, right? So if people go to your website and download the wallet, they can already just follow this demo. Hello? Vlad? Cheng?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry,
I thought my audio was gone for a second. Okay.
No, it's perfect.
We need to select a service provider. I already have this in here. This service provider is operated by our good friends at Notice Verify. So thanks for that. Basically, you just need to. So let me show you what it would be like if it was not enabled. So you need to turn this on. And you need to type AQR here, and this is the only service provider that will show up. And of course, you can find the actual ID of the service provider in the blog post that was written by Notice Verify. And you select this one. And then you go back from settings and just click connect. Sometimes it fails with a panic. It's really afraid of me. Yeah. And then you get these lovely details here, which I'm going to copy both because I'm using not very privacy preserving clipboard manager, which you should never use, by the way. So don't use it, guys. Do as I say, not as I do. Log into your wallet. Now, I probably already have the proxy enabled, but let me show you how to do that. So this whole section is normally not shown. So you need to enable advanced settings. And then under that, you see the proxy settings. I already have these details copied over. So actually, I don't need to input them again. But yeah, you need to copy the address and port, these lovely little fields here. And then hit save. And then now you're connected through the Nym mixnet. So basically, your Alephium wallet enjoys network level privacy, both in terms of the data that is being transferred from the wallet to the Alephium blockchain, and also in terms of the metadata of that traffic, which is what Nym is really great at. So it's a pretty strong network level privacy protection. Say that fast 3 times. And then I'm going to transfer. I'm not going to give you all my ALF tokens because I'm planning to buy a house from it at some point. So how much should I send you, Vlad?
Just send me 0.1.
0.1? Okay, you'll get 0.1. I'm keeping the rest.
Keep the change.
Thanks.
This is UTX after all, right? That's how it works.
Exactly. So then I just go send. This is my address. This is your address. And sending 0.1. And there you go. It's done. Wow, demo successful, guys. I can't even believe that I pulled it off this easy. That was a really good demo, if I do say so myself.
Perfect.
I should have shown people around a bit more in your wallet because when you say maniacal focus on UX, it really shows. I really like this wallet, especially the fact that it has dark mode, which is kind of amazing. I would not be so fond of this wallet if it didn't. I work for Nym after all.
You do have everything on dark mode by default. I'll just pass the link to our wallets on GitHub in the chat if you're okay with this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, paste down the links. And let me just read through chat. I didn't get a chance to do that. Maybe we have some more community questions. If you have one for any of us, for Cheng, Vlad, or myself, let us know. Otherwise, I think this brings us to the end of our call. It was really lovely to have you on, guys. It was a real pleasure. Do you have any closing remarks?
I want to thank you for a very efficient organization, a very pleasant one at that. And I can say that his demo skills have been honed for a long time because we tested everything and it ended up working really well. I want to thank Oheka and CGI of the Not Trust Verify team. I want to thank Alexis, who has been good enough to come to us and also introduce us. To be honest, it's been a very, very pleasant exercise to do this with you guys. And we'd love to do it again someday.
It definitely was very pleasant. It was amazing to have you on. Yeah, I would also like to thank, as usual, the No Trust Verify crew for running the service provider, for writing the guide, and just being very awesome in general all the time, without ever failing. Much love, guys. Cheng, do you have any closing remarks, goodbyes, or anything else?
Pretty much like Vlad. Thank you guys for having us, and thank you for the great community for initiating the collaboration, the using of Mixney, NymConnect for the wallets. That's a very fantastic work. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more to happen in the future.
Amen. I hope to bring you on some other time as well. Maybe when you hit the next milestone, maybe when you hit that one exaflash. Exaflash.
Exaflash. I love it. Exaflash is actually a much better name. Right. At one exaflash, we activate, right? Like it makes sense. Thank you, Sudo. Thanks a lot.
It was amazing to have you on. I would also like to address all the new wonderful people who just arrived to the Nym community from Alephium. It's really nice to cross-pollinate. Welcome to all of you. Hopefully, I'll get to see you on the upcoming community calls as well. We also have bi-weekly DevRel AMAs for the more technically minded people. So our DevRel team and myself come on the same stage to answer your more technical questions when it comes to Nym and building on Nym and running Nym infrastructure and all of that good stuff. With all of that said, I would like to wish everybody a lovely weekend. The call, as usual, was recorded. You may notice the lovely, very diligent recording bots in the audience, Craig and GR. So it will be uploaded to YouTube at some point later once the recording has been processed. There is a PO-up for this call. It's a tradition that we create PO-ups, proof of attendance, NFT-like little thingies to commemorate your presence at this call. So our dispenser bot is broken. So I will tag the person in chat, this dear guy over here who's responsible for our lovely PO-ups. Yay, PO-ups. Yeah, so please DM Pizza J, and he's going to get you a PO-up for this event. It was absolutely lovely to have you on, guys, once again. Hope to speak to you very soon again.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Enjoy the weekend.